All right. So as far as military policy and such, there are mandated classes such as the SHARP program, which is a more or less a forced program to tell people not to rape people, I suppose. And it's really just a lot of secular humanist, feminist propaganda, more or less, and a lot of finger wagging and down speaking to military members, assuming that people are just essentially cattle in a sense. And it's very frightening when you see things happen to people that kind of stand up to that culture, more or less just disappear. And I'm blanking on the name of the guy at the moment. I had drill this last weekend, worked about 55 hours in 3 days, and have just been going nonstop, and I can't get out of fights. I work in claims in the insurance, so dealing with angry contractors and things of that nature. But sorry, I'm going off on a tangent there. Anyways, the culture in the military is just one that is, in my opinion, a secular humanist experiment, and it is a forced culture that forces you to embrace that culture and kowtow to it. And so speaking truth there is rather difficult, and I wondered if you had any tips on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get this question all the time. The question is always, how do I speak truth to my professor? How do I speak truth? And really, that's only half the question. The question is really, how do I speak truth to my professor without suffering the consequences? And the fact is you can't. I mean, we're under fire from the left. Their ideas don't make sense, and so the only thing they can do is silence us. That's the only weapon they have. Knock us off Twitter, call us fascists. I work with Ben Shapiro. They call him a Nazi. I keep saying, you ought to wear the yarmulke with the swastika on it. They'll do anything to silence us, and that means you got to pay the price. I mean, I paid the price of my Hollywood career. That's millions of dollars, and I never lost a night's sleep over it because other people were getting shot, and I thought it was worth saying what I had to say. I tell this to young people all the time. Everything costs something, and there's no shame in counting the cost, but there is a shame in selling something priceless because you're afraid. That is a shame. It's a shame to lose your ability to speak the truth because you're afraid you're going to take a hit. I think that you pick your battles, you choose what you're willing to pay, but you cannot surrender this. You can't, because they really want the whole culture. I mean, it is just amazing. They don't want anybody making movies who disagrees with them. They don't want anybody writing books who disagrees with them. I got my latest book, Another Kingdom. I'll tell you, I wrote books for young adults for a Christian publisher. And I told them, I'm not going to preach to anybody, but what I'll do is I'll make the hero Christian. I'll make the hero, that's it. He'll just be a Christian, and he'll do what Christians do, and he'll be the hero, and that's the only, preaching that'll be involved. And so I wrote these books. They sold very well in America, called the Homelander series, and I got a big sale for them in England. And after a while, the manuscript appeared on my desk, and it was edited, and that doesn't happen. Usually the foreign people don't edit your manuscript. So I called up my agent. I said, what's this? And they said, well, they want you to cut out all the references to the Bible. No kidding. I mean, and there was nothing, there was just stuff like, instead of saying, I know not to steal, he would say, well, I know the 10 Commandments, I know not to steal. It wasn't like, again, it wasn't preaching, it was just he was living in that biblical world. And I said, they wouldn't say that to a Muslim. They probably wouldn't say it to a Jew. I'm not going to do it. 5 times they came back to me with a manuscript, 5 different times, and they told me, if you do not do this, the biggest bookstore in England, Waterstones, will not carry the book. And I wouldn't do it, and they did not carry the book. They cut their order in half. The book never did well in England. That's bad. That's a big hit, but what was really the alternative? I mean, really, what was the alternative? I'll cut stuff out of a book if it's going to offend a certain audience. I'm not against that, but how could you possibly Nobody could understand why I kept saying over and over again, you can't ask me to do this, you know? And they thought I was nuts. That's the world we're going to be living in soon. That's in England, where things are much further advanced than they are here. But that'll happen here, too. You know, books have lost contracts because they said something about Islam or about Muhammad that Islamists didn't like. You know, I think that if we're not willing to take some hits, that's what they win. That's all there is to it. If we're not willing to pay some price for the truth, they win.